The sky tore open. From beyond the solar system, massive alien cruisers slipped silently into Earth's orbit, eclipsing the sun with cold, metallic shadows. Cities below seemed fragile, toy-like, dwarfed by the enormity of the intruders. On board the flagship, the alien admiral's eyes glimmered with certainty. "Primitive," he murmured. "They won't even notice we're here until it's too late." And for a heartbeat, it seemed he might be right. On the ground, the first warnings came as streaks of light across the radar screens, then shrill sirens wailing across cities. Streets jammed instantly as civilians tried to escape the unknown. Helicopters swirled chaotically above metropolitan jungles of steel, searching for a threat that appeared almost impossibly vast. Smoke from early fires coiled into the sky like spectral fingers, and in offices and homes, people watched the heavens, frozen in awe and terror. Yet beneath the chaos, unseen threads of resistance began to stir. In basements, subways, and underground data centers, humans coordinated through encrypted networks and improvised signals. Small ragtag groups began passing instructions. Do not engage yet. Observe, learn, wait. They had no idea of the scale they would soon face. But instinct whispered the same truth. Retreat was not an option. Above, alien sensors swept over the planet, scanning for weapons, for armies, for the telltale signs of coordinated defense. They detected nothing. Human military scrambled jets, firing missiles that fizzled harmlessly against cloaked cruisers. Satellites flickered under alien interference. The invaders' confidence swelled. "It will be effortless," the admiral declared. But confidence is fragile. In a small research outpost in Siberia, an old scientist clicked her fingers over a console. A drone lifted from a hidden hatch beneath the snow, invisible to the orbiting eyes above. Far below, in the winding tunnels of London's underground, teenagers turned their homemade EMP devices toward a power relay, awaiting the right moment. In a crowded apartment in Mumbai, a young engineer hacked into a commercial satellite, redirecting its camera feeds to track the cruiser's blind spots. Across continents, humans moved silently, coordinated not by protocol, but by instinct. The aliens could not see them yet, but Earth was alive in ways they could not comprehend. And then came the first subtle shockwave. A sensor drone, one of the smallest, launched from a hidden Pacific island, grazed the hull of an alien scout ship. The vessel shuddered, more in surprise than damage. The admiral blinked. "Impossible," he muttered. His confidence faltered ever so slightly. A ripple ran through the bridge. Earth had begun to move. Across the planet, humans held their breath. They were unprepared. They were frightened. They were fragmented. And yet, for the first time, the alien forces sensed a pattern small, fleeting, and impossible to fully map. Pockets of resistance were forming. Shadows in the ruins, whispers beneath the cities, signals flickering through the chaos. It was not much, but it was enough to let the world know one undeniable truth. Earth would not yield easily. The sky erupted in an instant. Alien beams of scorching light sliced through the skyline of New York, Paris, Tokyo, and Sao Paulo simultaneously. Glass shattered, steel bent, and buildings that had stood for centuries crumbled into smoke and ash. The screams of the terrified echoed beneath the alien shadows, a haunting symphony of chaos. Streets became rivers of panic, cars abandoned in tight knots, and helicopters spun helplessly in spirals of fire. From orbit, the alien admiral's sensors reported minimal resistance. His confidence surged. "As expected," he said, voice cold and calm. "These humans are no more than frightened rodents. But humans are not rodents." Even as the beams cut through cities, humanity began moving in ways the aliens had not predicted. In the crowded streets of Paris, a group of engineers commandeered an abandoned subway tunnel, converting it into a hidden command post. From there, they sent drones skyward, small, fast, nearly invisible tracking alien patrols, recording weaknesses, sending the information to other scattered groups around the world. In the deserts of Arizona, teenagers armed with improvised electromagnetic pulse devices huddled behind dunes. They calculated the timing of the alien energy sweeps and waited for the moment when the beams would overextend. When the time came, they unleashed the pulse. A flash of light crackled over the dunes, and one of the smaller scout ships twitched violently before falling silent. The desert echoed with a stunned silence. Humans below exhaled cautiously. In Mumbai, a young engineer hacked into a commercial satellite network. He redirected the feeds, broadcasting false coordinates to the alien ships and sending several war vessels careening toward empty ocean trenches. Panic flickered in the alien sensors, an unusual pattern they had never anticipated. The first real shockwave rippled through the alien ranks. They had expected submission. Instead, they faced a planet that fought back not with brute force, but with ingenuity, improvisation, and sheer unpredictability. The chaos in the cities became both a shield and a weapon. Human civilians ran not only from destruction, but to opportunity. Snipers in abandoned high-rises, hackers in darkened rooms, and engineers rigging vehicles with makeshift explosives. Every small success sent ripples across alien communications, forcing them to pause, to recalculate, to question their assumptions. And then the humans struck in a way that would echo across the galaxy. In the ruins of a burned city block in Tokyo, a squad of survivors unleashed a homemade EMP grenade. The pulse erupted silently, invisible but absolute. One alien ship froze mid-air, its sensors blinking out, its engines sputtering. It fell slowly, like a fallen star, crashing into the river below with a thunderous splash. For a moment, the world held its breath. Above, the alien admiral's confidence cracked. Reports of small, isolated failures spread rapidly. "Impossible," he hissed. His officers struggled to maintain order, sending patrols to investigate shadows that weren't meant to be seen, chasing illusions crafted by human ingenuity everywhere. Earth's defenders realized the same truth. Their planet was a battlefield, not a graveyard. Every terrified glance became a strategy. Every fleeting movement could turn into a weapon. The humans were fractured, yes, but in that fracture lay unpredictability, chaos that could not be calculated, patterns that could not be anticipated, and the aliens, for all their technology, had underestimated it. The aliens hovered above Earth like predators, confident in their dominance. Sensors scanned oceans, cities, forests, and deserts, but they could not find the threat that had begun to haunt them. What they did not realize was that the true danger was everywhere and nowhere, hidden in the shadows of a planet they thought they controlled, beneath the dense canopies of the Amazon. Human scouts moved silently, their faces streaked with sweat and grime. Tiny drones, no bigger than birds, zipped between branches, transmitting real-time data to remote command centers. From these hidden vantage points, humans launched attacks with deadly precision. Explosions erupted in the jungle as energy drones collided with alien reconnaissance units, sending them spinning into the trees. In the sprawling deserts of North Africa, engineers had rigged old satellite dishes with improvised EMP emitters. When an alien patrol ship passed overhead, a surge of energy erupted, and the craft faltered mid-air, spinning helplessly like a leaf caught in a storm. It crashed into a sand dune, raising a column of dust visible for miles. Humans watched silently, exhaling only after the dust settled. Cities were no safer. In the underground tunnels beneath London, teenagers turned their gaming skills into Warcraft, controlling hacked delivery drones armed with electromagnetic pulses. These small, unpredictable attacks disrupted alien supply lines and communications, creating panic among the cruisers above. One by one, alien officers began to notice the pattern, or rather, the lack of any discernible pattern. Humans moved like ghosts, vanishing before they could be targeted. Even the oceans became a battlefield. Submarines, once forgotten relics of human conflict, now served as silent hunters. They emerged without warning, firing torpedoes at unsuspecting alien crafts attempting to recharge near surface waters. The blasts lit up the night like fireworks, casting eerie reflections on the dark waves. Humans had turned every corner of their planet into a weapon. The alien admiral's confidence was cracking. Orders grew frantic, communications clipped. "Find them," he demanded, voice sharp with fear. "They cannot hide from us forever." Yet, every attempt to corner the humans failed. Every patrol that moved to intercept them was drawn into traps, misdirection, and ambushes. The aliens began to realize that Earth was not chaotic, it was adaptive, fluid, unpredictable, and unpredictability was a weapon they could not compute. In Siberia, a small team of scientists worked in a hidden facility, sending coded signals that guided strikes around the globe. "They are everywhere," one whispered, scanning monitors that flickered with alien sensor activity. "And yet, they are nowhere." A scout ship, arrogant and gleaming, descended over a European city to hunt a rumored resistance hub. As it passed, wires laid days earlier in the streets activated. Releasing a localized EMP, the craft shuddered violently, sensors fried, and it plummeted into the river, sending a cascade of sparks into the sky. Below, the resistance team remained hidden, heartbeats steady, knowing they had struck again. Above, the alien admiral stared at the reports, disbelief twisting into panic. How can they be everywhere and nowhere?" he muttered. His fleet, once confident, now faltered under the pressure of a force they could neither locate nor predict. And on Earth, in the quiet moments between attacks, humans shared glances of grim determination. They were scared, they were exhausted, but for the first time, they understood the truth. Their planet was not defenseless. Every shadow, every hidden alley, every forest canopy and underground tunnel was a battlefield, and they were the invisible hand striking back. The aliens hovered above Earth like predators, confident in their dominance. Sensors scanned oceans, cities, forests, and deserts, but they could not find the threat that had begun to haunt them. What they did not realize was that the true danger was everywhere and nowhere, hidden in the shadows of a planet they thought they controlled, beneath the dense canopies of the Amazon. Human scouts moved silently, their faces streaked with sweat and grime. Tiny drones, no bigger than birds, zipped between branches, transmitting real-time data to remote command centers. From these hidden vantage points, humans launched attacks with deadly precision. Explosions erupted in the jungle as energy drones collided with alien reconnaissance units, sending them spinning into the trees. In the sprawling deserts of North Africa, engineers had rigged old satellite dishes with improvised EMP emitters. When an alien patrol ship passed overhead, a surge of energy erupted, and the craft faltered mid-air, spinning helplessly like a leaf caught in a storm. It crashed into a sand dune, raising a column of dust visible for miles. Humans watched silently, exhaling only after the dust settled. Cities were no safer. In the underground tunnels beneath London, teenagers turned their gaming skills into warcraft, controlling hacked delivery drones armed with electromagnetic pulses. These small, unpredictable attacks disrupted alien supply lines and communications, creating panic among the cruisers above. One by one, alien officers began to notice the pattern, or rather, the lack of any discernible pattern. Humans moved, like ghosts, vanishing before they could be targeted. Even the oceans became a battlefield. Submarines, once forgotten relics of human conflict, now served as silent hunters. They emerged without warning, firing torpedoes at unsuspecting alien crafts attempting to recharge near surface waters. The blasts lit up the night like fireworks, casting eerie reflections on the dark waves. Humans had turned every corner of their planet into a weapon. The alien admiral's confidence was cracking. Orders grew frantic, communications clipped. "Find them," he demanded, voice sharp with fear. "They cannot hide from us forever." Yet, every attempt to corner the humans failed. Every patrol that moved to intercept them was drawn into traps, misdirection, and ambushes. The aliens began to realize that Earth was not chaotic. It was adaptive, fluid, unpredictable, and unpredictability was a weapon they could not compute. In Siberia, a small team of scientists worked in a hidden facility, sending coded signals that guided strikes around the globe. "They are everywhere," one whispered, scanning monitors that flickered with alien sensor activity. "And yet, they are nowhere." A scout ship, arrogant and gleaming, descended over a European city to hunt a rumored resistance hub. As it passed, wires laid days earlier in the streets activated. Releasing a localized EMP, the craft shuddered violently, sensors fried, and it plummeted into the river, sending a cascade of sparks into the sky. Below, the resistance team remained hidden, heartbeats steady, knowing they had struck again. Above, the alien admiral stared at the reports, disbelief twisting into panic. How can they be everywhere and nowhere?" he muttered. His fleet, once confident, now faltered under the pressure of a force they could neither locate nor predict. And on Earth, in the quiet moments between attacks, humans shared glances of grim determination. They were scared. They were exhausted. But for the first time, they understood the truth. Their planet was not defenseless. Every shadow, every hidden alley, every forest canopy and underground tunnel was a battlefield, and they were the invisible hand striking back. The night sky was a canvas of chaos. Alien cruisers glowed faintly, their hulls humming with lethal energy, while below, Earth's defenders emerged from shadows with a precision no one could have predicted. For the first time, humanity was no longer hiding, they were striking. Above the Atlantic, hundreds of human submarines surged silently toward a massive alien vessel, a gleaming behemoth that dwarfed any city block. From the depths, they fired modified torpedoes, each embedded with EMP pulses designed to cripple energy shields. The first blasts struck, sending ripples across the ship's hull, sparks arcing violently in the dark waters. Alarm sirens screamed through the alien vessel as its crew scrambled, unprepared for attacks from below. Simultaneously, fighter jets streaked across the skies over Europe and Asia. They moved in waves, weaving through smoke and debris, each pilot carrying weapons, scavenged from both human and alien technology. Lasers, missiles, and electrified nets tangled with alien defenses in a violent ballet of light. Cities below flickered with emergency lights, casting shadows of chaos and courage alike. In the ruins of New York, civilians turned combatants, directed small squads, launching improvised drones toward alien patrols. These tiny machines zipped between buildings like swarming wasps, distracting sensors and guiding human strike teams to weak points. Even as smoke filled the streets, humans fought with calm determination, knowing that one misstep could cost everything. Across deserts and jungles, similar patterns emerged. Humans had learned to exploit alien blind spots, turning the planet into a living battlefield. Explosions lit the night sky, illuminating sand dunes, treetops, and mountain ridges. In flickering orange and red, each strike was precise, calculated, and unexpected. The invaders had assumed Earth would crumble under fear, but fear had become fuel. The alien admiral stared at his fleet's data feeds, disbelief etched across his face. "Impossible," he whispered. "They coordinate, globally." For the first time, he realized that humans were not merely surviving, they were orchestrating a planetary counterattack. Panic began to ripple through his ranks, replacing the arrogance that had carried them to Earth. In a hidden command center beneath the Himalayas, human leaders watched the battle unfold on holographic displays. A young strategist pointed at a map of the alien fleet. We lure the flagship here, she said, her finger tracing a dangerous arc over the ocean currents. And then we trap it between the submarines and the fighter wing. It won't escape. As if on cue, the flagship, blinded by the sudden intensity of coordinated attacks, veered off course. Torpedoes surged from the depths, fighter jets struck from above, and the massive ship was caught in a net of precision strikes that no alien technology had predicted. Sparks flew across its hull as shields flickered, warning sirens wailing in dissonant chaos. The ship shuddered violently, smoke spiraling from ruptured energy conduits, and below, in the command centers, humans held their breath. The flagship stabilized, but just barely. It was a small victory, yet monumental in its implications. The invaders were learning, too late, that Earth was not a helpless prize. The tide was beginning to turn. The planet itself seemed to respond. The oceans thrumming with submarine engines, the wind carrying drones through city streets, forests concealing ambush points. Humans were everywhere at once and nowhere in particular, orchestrating chaos into strategy. For the first time, the aliens faced a species that was unpredictable, adaptive, and relentless. The alien fleet was no longer a single, unbroken force. From orbit, their ships flickered like dying stars, scattered across Earth's skies, oceans, and deserts. Panic rippled through their ranks, subtle at first, a delayed response here, a misfired laser there. The Admiral's confidence, once absolute, was cracking. He barked orders, but each command collided with dissent, hesitation, and confusion. On a remote asteroid base, controlling a portion of the fleet, a young alien officer argued heatedly with his superior. "We cannot continue this assault. They adapt faster than our calculations allow," he pleaded. The superior glared, rigid with pride. "Retreat is not an option. The humans are insignificant. Focus on the next target." But the seeds of division had already been sown below Earth's. Defenders watched the cracks widen. Intelligence teams intercepted alien communications, noting disagreements and confusion. Where once the enemy had moved in precise formation, now ships scattered unpredictably, isolated from one another, making them vulnerable to concentrated human attacks. Humanity had turned the invaders' own arrogance against them. In the frozen expanses of Siberia, a small team of engineers prepared their strike. Using hacked alien coordinates and intercepted instructions, they targeted alone. Cruisers separated from its fleet. A volley of missiles, drones, and electromagnetic pulses converged in perfect harmony. The ship shuddered violently as shields failed, sparks erupting along its hull. It tilted, powerless, before plunging into the icy plains. In the streets of Cairo, human squads moved swiftly, using the alien fleet's fractured communications to their advantage. They guided small groups of civilians and guerrilla fighters to intercept and disable isolated alien patrols. The city was a labyrinth of fire and shadow, but humans had learned to use it to their advantage. Every blocked street, every hidden tunnel, became a weapon. Across the Pacific, submarines shadowed fleeing alien ships, striking at weak points, while drones distracted their sensors. One massive cruiser, confident it had evaded human attacks, was suddenly immobilized by a coordinated strike from above and below. The crew's panic was palpable, even through intercepted communications. Commands overlapped, confusion reigned, and the vessel spiraled into the sea like a wounded leviathan. Above, the alien admiral's eyes narrowed. The humans were cleverer than he had anticipated. His fleet, once a weapon of overwhelming superiority, was now a series of broken pieces, each vulnerable to attack. His officers whispered about retreat, about surrender, but the concept was alien to him. Pride still bound his hands. And yet, even as the aliens fractured, humans did not let up. The planet itself seemed to fight alongside them. Forests, concealed, ambushes, deserts, channeled attacks, oceans swallowed ships in waves of chaos and strategy. Every move was calculated, every action adaptive. The cracks in the invaders' armor became opportunities, and humanity seized them with ruthless precision. A message flashed across Earth's command network. The Admiral is considering retreat. He believes Earth is not the weak target we assumed. It was a victory not complete, but unmistakable. The first time the aliens had truly feared humanity, in hidden command centers, across ruined cities, and beneath mountains, humans exchanged tense smiles. They were exhausted, bruised, and afraid, but they had proven something vital. Even the greatest force could falter against strategy, unity, and the courage to exploit its weaknesses. A hush fell over the hidden command center beneath the Himalayas. Scientists, engineers, and strategists had been working in silence for weeks, refining a weapon so powerful, so unpredictable, that it could shift the balance of the war in a single strike. The device was small, deceptively so, but its potential was monumental. Outside, the alien flagship hovered over the Pacific, massive and menacing, its energy shields gleaming like molten steel in the sunlight. Smaller cruisers flanked it, patrolling the skies and scanning the oceans for human activity. They had no idea what was coming. Inside the command center, a young scientist named Dr. Sahana pressed her hand against the control panel, eyes flicking across holographic displays. Initiating gravity modulation, she whispered. The room vibrated with tension. Monitors displayed the fleet above, each ship a dot in a vast, deadly network. Humans held their breath, knowing the risk. If the device malfunctioned, it could tear through the atmosphere, destroying friend and foe alike. Then it began. The device hummed, low at first, then building into a crescendo of invisible force. The water of the Pacific bulged unnaturally, as if the ocean itself had grown sentient, responding to the manipulation. Alien cruisers tilted violently, their hulls creaking under stress, shields flickering. The flagship shuddered, engines faltering as gravity warped around it. Sparks erupted along its surface, arcs of energy dancing unpredictably. The Admiral's voice crackled over communications, sharp with disbelief. Report. What is happening to the fleet? But no one had answers. Sensors failed, shields collapsed, and smaller ships spun helplessly, pulled into gravitational anomalies they could not escape. The ocean below swallowed one massive cruiser whole, leaving only a plume of water and debris. Humans watched, tense, but all their gamble had worked. In cities around the globe, humans mobilized. Submarines fired from hidden depths, fighter jets swooped in to strike immobilized vessels, and guerrilla squads targeted alien landing crafts with newfound precision. Every move was amplified by the turning device. The aliens' coordination had dissolved into chaos. Yet the tension remained. Even with the fleet paralyzed, the device was volatile. Energy arcs danced across control panels, warning lights flashed, and engineers scrambled to stabilize the system. A single miscalculation could send gravitational waves tearing through Earth's crust. For a heartbeat, fear gripped everyone. The weapon that promised salvation could just as easily be their doom. And then, as quickly as it began, the flagship shuddered to a halt. Smaller ships tumbled in its wake, engines fried, weapons disabled. The once mighty armada was at humanity's mercy. Across the Pacific, the ocean gleamed eerily in the sunlight, reflecting twisted alien hulls like a graveyard beneath the waves. For the first time, Earth's defenders allowed themselves a moment of hope. The invaders were no longer the unstoppable force they had imagined. They were vulnerable, trapped by a combination of human ingenuity, courage, and relentless determination. Above, the alien admiral's hands clenched around the command console. Impossible. They cannot have this technology. They are not meant to survive against us. His officers whispered of surrender, of retreat, of the unthinkable. Pride and arrogance collided with reality, and humanity was winning the argument. Yet, in hidden command centers, humans remained vigilant. Victory was not complete. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and the device could spiral out of control. But for the first time in weeks, the tide had shifted. Earth was no longer reacting. Earth was taking the fight to the invaders. The sky burned with fire and energy. Alien cruisers limped across the horizon, sparks arcing from shattered engines, their formations broken and chaotic. The once imposing fleet, which had descended upon Earth with terrifying precision, was now fragmented and panicked. Humanity, seizing the advantage, pressed relentlessly. Above the Atlantic, the flagship, the same vessel that had once dominated the ocean skies, floated helplessly. Engines sputtering, its massive hull scarred by concentrated strikes from below. Human submarines and fighter jets swarmed around it, moving in a coordinated ballet of chaos and precision. Every maneuver, every attack, had been calculated through hours of observation and real-time intelligence. The tide had turned, and the aliens knew it. In the cities, the fight continued with equal intensity. Smoke spiraled from New York's skyscrapers, the air thick with dust and tension. Guerrilla teams struck from rooftops, guided by drones and underground sensors. Tokyo's streets became a labyrinth of fire and strategy, where humans anticipated alien patrols, setting traps, and luring the invaders into dead ends. In Europe, stealth squads exploited fractures in the alien communications network, striking isolated ships with devastating precision. Earth was alive, moving as a single organism, every part of it fighting back. The alien admiral's voice trembled. Over the fleet's comms, regroup, concentrate fire on the humans. But his officers hesitated. Morale had shattered. Some ships refused orders, retreating into the upper atmosphere or hiding among clouds, while others were already damaged beyond repair. Panic, once foreign to their structured command, now spread like wildfire. On board a human command station in the Himalayas, Dr. Sahana and her team monitored the flagship's failing systems. "We can finish this now," she said, pointing at the holographic display of the crippled vessel. "If we time it right, the fleet won't recover." Her finger traced the flight paths of escort ships, now isolated and vulnerable. Every move had to be precise. One miscalculation could reignite the aliens' offensive, and then the humans struck. Submarines fired torpedoes that struck in tandem with fighter jet missiles, hitting the flagship's shields at weak points exposed by the turning device. Sparks flew across its hull, and explosions ripped through the ship's corridors. The alien crew scrambled, struggling to regain control, but their efforts were futile. One by one, smaller cruisers fell, pulled into gravitational distortions, or intercepted by strategic strikes. The sky became a storm of energy beams, smoke, and fire, lit intermittently by explosions that cast flickering shadows across terrified cities. The aliens' desperation grew. Holomaps displayed failed retreats, disabled engines, and lost communications. The once feared fleet was now a disoriented shadow of its former might, retreating in fits and starts. For the first time, they truly feared humanity. Even as the battle raged, humans remained vigilant. Every attack had been precise, yet every victory carried risk. Soldiers, scientists, and civilians alike moved as one, exploiting weaknesses while preserving their own forces. Humanity's strategy was clear: strike decisively, exploit the fractures, and leave no opportunity for the enemy to recover. Finally, the flagship shuddered violently, sparks flying like fireflies in the dark. Its engines died, systems failing entirely. The remaining alien ships, leaderless and disoriented, began retreating en masse. From the ground to the skies, Earth's defenders watched as the tide turned irrevocably in their favor. Above the planet, the Admiral's pride had crumbled entirely. Commands were ignored, ships vanished into the atmosphere, and the humans had proved the unthinkable. A fractured adaptive species could defeat a technologically superior invader. The sky was quiet, almost unnervingly so. The alien fleet had vanished, retreating into the dark expanse of space, their engines trailing sparks and smoke like wounded comets. On Earth, cities lay scarred but alive, rising from the smoke and ruin. Humanity had survived. More than that, they had prevailed. From the top of a skyscraper in New York, Lieutenant Arya Chen surveyed the city. Fires still flickered, and rubble lined the streets, but there was movement, people returning, rebuilding, connecting. Humanity had endured the storm, and now faced the aftermath, bruised but unbroken. The adrenaline of victory still thrummed through the veins of those who had fought beneath the forests of South America. Guerrilla squads emerged from hiding, blinking in the sunlight. Drones that had once carried messages and guided attacks now hovered quietly, observing and recording. The jungles had been a battlefield, and humans had mastered the art of the unseen strike. Every small victory had built toward this moment, a planet united by necessity, proving that ingenuity, courage, and resilience could rival even the most advanced alien technology. Across the oceans, the remnants of the alien flagship floated, like a ghostly monument to defeat. Satellites captured its images, sending data to Earth's command centers. Engineers and scientists studied the wreckage, not only to learn from the enemy, but to understand the strength they had always possessed. Humanity had learned that Earth was more than a planet. It was a fortress, a crucible where ingenuity and willpower forged unstoppable defense. The alien admiral, once confident in swift conquest, now broadcast warnings to the remaining scattered fleet. "Do not underestimate this species again," he ordered. Pride had been replaced by fear, and the story of Earth's resilience would ripple across the galaxy. Any civilization seeking easy victory would remember the humans who fought from shadows, forests, deserts, and cities alike. In Mumbai, Dr. Sahana watched the sun rise, her fingers hovering over holographic displays of the alien fleet's retreat paths. She felt the weight of their survival not only in lives saved but in the lessons learned. Humanity had discovered a truth often forgotten in times of comfort. Survival depended on unity, adaptability, and courage. The galaxy would now know that Earth was not a prize to be seized lightly. Children in Paris and Tokyo played among the ruins, their laughter carrying above the crackle of lingering fires. They would grow up with stories of heroes, of ordinary humans who had stood against overwhelming odds, who had turned fear into strategy and despair into action. Earth would be remembered not only for the battle it had fought, but for the spirit that had refused to bow. Yet even in victory, humanity remained vigilant. Scars remained, both on the cities and in memory, and whispers of distant alien forces lingered on the fringes of space. Earth had survived, but the universe was vast, and other challengers might one day come. Still, the planet had sent a message, clear and unshakable. Humanity was not to be underestimated. As night fell, the stars stretched across the sky, glittering reminders of worlds beyond reach. Humans stood on rooftops, in forests, and by oceans, looking upward. The silence was no longer fear, it was respect, hard-earned and deserved. Earth had proven that, even against overwhelming power, intelligence, unity, and relentless courage could triumph.